Hi everyone. Hi Marta. Hi Michael. Hi Tina. Hi Roger. Hello. How's everyone doing? The wind is just picking up. Hi Ree. If you guys can see me and hear me, could someone just put something on the chat so I know that everything is working okay? Hi Jeannie. Hi Victoria. Hi everyone. Thank you. Hi. Right. I'm just checking that everything is working okay. The wind has just picked up a little bit, but it should be only a light breeze for a few moments. Hope you guys are all doing okay. We are in Seville at 29 degrees, I believe. So it's been a bit warm, but at least today we have some shade, which is good. And I'm just checking around because there's been a few people doing, they've been doing like flamenco dances and singing, and there's a few horse carriages around. So I'm just sort of keeping them in the periphery of my eyes to make sure that they're still there when we start the tour so I can show you, because that would be cooler, I think. But there you go. And how is everyone doing? Is everyone doing okay? Yeah? Okay, those ones are behind us. Those ones are ahead of us. That's fine. Hi, Deborah. How are you doing? Literally got a minute and 10 seconds to go. Hi, Christina. Welcome, welcome. Just 1 minute to go, guys, and then we'll get started here in Plaza España in Seville. And this is a good time, actually, because the football is playing at the same time I'm doing the tour, which means no one is here. Or, well, there is very, very few people around, which means that's perfect. We are not going to have to be avoiding the crowds. This is exactly what I wanted. This lucky coincidence. Hi, Poppy. Hello, welcome. Welcome to Seville. I'll give you a proper introduction in just a few. We have 30 seconds to go. They are still going. This is going to be good. How are you all doing, guys? You're okay? I got 20 seconds to go, so bear with me and we will get started here around Plaza España and then Maria Luisa Gardens. Hi, Maureen. You've been here already, Jeannie, have you? That's great. It's been very, very nice place to walk around. It's been absolutely charming. The first day we were at 36 degrees, but after that it's been very pleasant. Okay, and I am green, which means it is my time to get started. Okay, well, let's center the gimbal and let's go. So hello, everybody. Welcome to Seville. This is the surprise location for today. We are in Plaza España and we're gonna be walking around this square as well as the gardens of Maria Luisa. I'll be doing a little explanation about this, but mostly the tour for today is just taking in the very nice vibes that Seville has in today. You're gonna get some amazing postcards and a little bit of history and greenery. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Lillian Cespedes Gonzalez. I have a really long Spanish name, so just call me Lily, that's fine. And it is doctor because I do have a PhD in history from the University of Winchester, and I'm a historian. But today, there is not going to be as much history. Like I said, today is just about the vibe, the monuments, and having a really good time. Now, just a forewarning, we will encounter some random acts. This area is, well, surrounded by all sorts of other monuments. People come here quite often, so we're going to see potentially people dancing, potentially people singing. We may see some horse carriages, etc., etc. So just keep an eye out, and as soon as I see them, I'll try to show them for you. And I am gonna turn the camera in a second and then we can get started. Okay, so first things first, welcome to Sevilla or Seville. This is the 5th largest city in Spain. It has over 700,000 inhabitants and it's one of the most famous cities in the whole country and definitely in Andalusia. Are the boats out yet? They are definitely out. I will show you in a second, guys. And hi, Adrian. Seville is very well known because of its climate. It's very moderate in here all year round. The worst that it gets in the winter is about 14 degrees, which is really not cold at all, at least in my books. And even in the summer, although they can have cold, a lot of heat waves, it's not as bad as near Madrid. Hi, Paul Stefan. The square that we're going to see today is a relatively new monument here in the city of Seville that actually goes all the way back to Roman times, and that is mostly well known for the monuments that were created here by the Almohads, by the first wave of Muslim conquerors of Spain. This entire square that we're seeing today, however, is from the 20th century. And I'm sure you're gonna see it all looks very new. It's actually very well kept because this whole complex was originally designed to host the Ibero-American Expo. Now, I'll tell you a lot more about this in just a few, but I just want to get you to the cool spots and where the sun is shining so we can actually enjoy the beautiful views of Plaza España. Hello, Irene. How are you? Right, I'm just gonna have to go down some stairs, so bear with me, guys. I'm just gonna give you something pretty to look at while I try not to dive to the ground. There you go. So all of this square would have been one of the many locations where the Expo, the Ibero-American Expo of 1929 would have taken place. All of this is considered new style, the new style of Seville. There is lots of modern buildings made in this type of architectural setting in the entirety of the city, and it sort of picks the best of all of the things that Seville is well known for. It has Renaissance symmetry, it has the flair of the Muslim tiles that have been a huge production for the city of Seville and the south of Spain since medieval times. And then it adds the red brick that Seville is very well famous for. Hi, Carol, how are you? Right, what I'm gonna do, as you can see, this building has different layers, and then it has some benches in here. Like these benches would have actually been the stands where the different parts of Spain would have put their goods and information about to just talk about their history, culture, etc. But from the top of this building, we can actually get some really cool views that I would like to show you. Hi, Patty. Hi, Bev. Welcome to Seville. So let me get through here. So I'll get up to the top of the building first, and then on the way down, I'll give you the tour of the inside. Now, as you can see, this is all a public square, by the way. This never closes. And as you can see, people use it for gym. These people are actually working out in here. There were some people playing flamenco earlier. And as you can see, they have details everywhere. This is just a normal staircase, guys. And this beautiful, beautiful tile work is one of the most prominent things that Seville is known for. Hi, Wisdom, Teresa, and Anne. I'm just going to give you a nice view of it. As you can imagine, I mean, right now this part of the square is in the shade, but when the sun comes through here, it literally looks like it's all shining in gold, which is absolutely stunning. You will probably not be surprised to know that this square in particular has been a filming set for actually some very famous films that I'm going to tell you about in just a moment. Let me just give you a cool view of this ceiling. Again, all of this is modern, guys, from the 20th century, but this is heavily inspired in the Muslim ceilings that you can see in the Real Alcázar, which is the UNESCO protected castle here in Seville. Paddy, oh, wonderful Seville. I visited here a long time in 1980. Well, I don't think this part has changed a lot since 1980, Paddy. The only new addition, really, from Seville would have been the pavilions for the Expo in 92, which I'm actually going to be seeing tomorrow. Right. Let me find you a nice balcony from which we can take the views. But before we do that, let me show you the other beautiful arches that we have here on the top. As you can see, this is once again borrowing from the Islamic inheritance of the country and of the region. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Karis. Right. Let's get you to the sunshine and the views, guys. All right. And here we go. So it takes, if you're walking slowly, it takes almost a whole hour to walk from one end to the other one of the square. We're not going to do the whole of it, and I'm going to go at a pretty fast pace just so we can see as much as possible. But the great thing about it is that it's all completely symmetric, so that tower is the exact same than this one over here that is now in the shade that you can probably not see all that well. The only difference in the lower part, in the bits that you can see here on the side, where those benches are, is the decoration, because each of those stands, like I was saying at the beginning, would have been named after the main cities of the different counties here in Spain. So each tile decoration actually captures a historic moment for that place, and that's the one thing that brings it a bit of difference. The rest of the design is all the same. Hi, Marguerite. And the gardens that you see in front of us, they are a botanic garden. They're actually known as El Parque de María Luisa, the Park of Maria Luisa, and I will tell you a bit more about that when we go there, which we will in a second. Okay, so let me get you this last view of this postcard, and then we will go back inside, and I'm gonna walk with you towards that tower. Okay, ready? Let's go. Okay, I'm just gonna walk backwards because there is a couple here taking a photo and I don't want to get in their way. Oh, and by the way, look at this beautiful tiled balcony. This is typical of Seville, this is typical of Spain. And this type of decoration, like, you could get tired, well, probably not because they're absolutely stunning, but you would get tired of seeing absolutely everywhere. Hi, Sil, welcome to Seville. Right, let's take this beautiful golden staircase again. Whew, let's look at the floor for me so I know where I'm going. You guys look at the pretty tiles. I remember the ceramic tiles and the extraordinary color. Yeah, they're absolutely wonderful, Paddy, but I don't know if you guys know, there was actually a very important football match here recently for the, I can't remember if it was the Champions League or something. And unfortunately, there was some severe damage done to several parts of the tiles because the football fans just weren't quite careful and they sort of smashed a few places, which is a real shame. Hola, Sil, ¿qué tal? Right, we're just gonna walk now through this part. As you can see, beautiful ceilings. All of this part of the square is now actually used by the Andalusian government to keep some of their administration offices in here, which I always think, what an amazing office to have. But apart from the inside of the building, everything else in the park and in Plaza España is absolutely free and open to the public. And this particular pathway that we're taking, if you guys are into films and TV, actually has a little bit of a reputation. Hi, Pat. I don't know if any of you may be able to name a very famous film series that was actually filmed in this very specific spot for some very iconic takes. The same for a very, very famous TV show now. They are both fantasy and sci-fi, so I'm dropping a few clues, and then I'll tell you in just a moment what they are. But first, I want to give you the view of the pavilion from here. Hello, Maria. Look at that. Oh, I can actually spot some people dancing flamenco, so I think you're going to be able to get a glance of that. Oh, I see a little bridge. I remember from my photos. Yes, there are actually two bridges in there, Paddy, and we're gonna see them closer because I'm actually gonna use them to cross. Oh, exciting! I don't know. Well, Jimmy and hi, Serene. This was one of the filming sets for Star Wars, for the prequels. They used the entire area of Plaza Seville for the decoration of Naboo, and it's particularly in certain parts of Episode 2 and Episode 3. And if you're fans of Game of Thrones, this was also used for several sets here for Game of Thrones. And look at that beautiful ceiling. Well, now you know you've been there and you've seen it, Jeannie. And I mean, I named those two because those are two of the most famous. I can't tell you, how many Spanish dramas and other films have been filmed in here. Right. I'm just going to shut up for a bit so I can show you the flamenco show that's happening here, guys. For those of you who don't know, flamenco is a typical dance and song the south of Spain. I think we're just going to catch them in between the act, so hopefully they'll carry on. Yes. Okay, yeah, I think I got a good spot. I'm gonna move to the center. It's amazing. I'm just gonna zoom in so you can see her feet. That's some skill. Just zooming out now.
Mi niña sale al balcón, va acariciando claveles.
Hi, Darren.
Mi niña sale al balcón, va acariciando claveles. Cositas del corazón, son las que mi niña tiene que tiene. Y por 20 reales.
Right, this is getting crowded, guys, so I'm gonna have to move on. Right. Okay, well, sadly we need to move on, guys, and the crowd is forming, so I hope you at least enjoyed that. She's amazingly talented, and this is something very specific. Seville, like a lot of people think this is, sevillanas and flamenco, which is the typical dances here of the south of Andalusia, is something that we have everywhere in Spain, but that's not the truth. It's actually something particular of this part of the world. And flamenco particularly comes from the flamenco community, who are actually, we call them Roma gypsies, and in general in Spain we call them gitanos. That is actually not an offensive word, that's how they call themselves. They don't like to be called anything else unless you use the actual proper word in their language, which is Calais. And Calais people took their Roma influences and mixed them with the local culture to then produce this amazing dance and music that you see here, or that we've seen in just a few moments ago, which is flamenco. But I can tell you that that's not something that we have in the north where I come from. We are a very different type of people in that regard, and flamenco is something typically southern. Hi Sue, hi Melissa, hi Jason, how are you all doing? Welcome to Seville and Plaza España. As you can see, the ceiling here has changed. We have different decoration. It's very rich. And I'm actually approaching the next set of stairs so we can see some of the pavilion stand benches, and so we can take the bridge to carry on walking around and taking a few panoramic views of the square. Hi Smile, how are you? So, what is the importance of this building in relation to that Ibero-American exhibition? Well, as I'm sure most of you know, in 1492, Spain set sail and discovered supposedly the Americas, or at least that's what they claimed, even though they had been known for quite some time. Well, as a reminder of the connection between Spain and the New World, and as a reparation of relationships, because the last colony that Spain had in the New World, the area of Cuba, was all completely lost at the end of the 19th century. So as a way of sort of repairing that relationship and trying to actually find, solidarity and good vibes with our American brothers, they created this ibero-american exhibition, and Seville was the host. So all of the different parts of Spain were in display, which is what these benches represent, and they also created a walk between Plaza España, which is this, and Plaza America, America Square, which is actually a bit farther down in the park. The park was already in the works at the time this happened, and they sort of incorporated it, but they were two separate projects. And I am gonna very cheekily stop here, because this is the stand for Santander, which is where I'm from. And, well, I just thought I would show you because I can, essentially. I always try to bring Santander to your attention when I can. And therefore, here we go. This is the one for Segovia, which is very well known for the Roman aqueduct. And here we have Soria, which is also part of Castile. Tarragona, which is up northeast. Teruel, which is in Aragon. Toledo, that used to be the old capital of the kingdom. As you can see, it goes in alphabetic order. Then we have Valencia, which is also very well known for the fallas. Valladolid. And I'm not gonna carry on because these people here, as you can see, are having their workout. So I'm gonna let them do their thing and move on. Because, like I said, I want to give you this full panoramic view. And I'm gonna get here. I think about Santander. Well, that's something I'll be talking about in a few weeks. But yeah, the name of Santander comes the other way around. They borrow the name from the city and for the bank. So let me get to the edge and give you a proper sort of 360 view. Okay? Oh, I'm gonna need a very steady hand. So let me get to this corner. Okay, right, here we go. Okay, guys, 1, 2, 3. Bear with me while we do this. We'll probably get some birds flying in. And I would like to point out, by the way, guys, in case you didn't know, all of the tile work that we've been seeing, it's all handmade. This is not just put on a random factory and there you go. It all was handmade. The ones that have been broken probably have been repaired with ones that come from a factory, but the original ones were all actually artisanal products. And there we go. So we're gonna cross the bridge, so then you can also see the whole view from behind the fountain. And then we're gonna go and have a little stroll through Maria Luisa's park, and I'll tell you a bit more about that. I remember the bridge was completely covered in tiles. Pretty much. It's not all entirely covered in tiles now, Paddy, but it used to be. Hey, Ronnie Lynn, how are you? Now, I think this is a lovely, the light that we have coming now, guys, because the sun is starting to set, it is great for this type of pictures. Like, look at those colors reflecting. Isn't that just amazing? Hi, Federica. Lovely, absolutely lovely. Right, so we're gonna walk on the bridge, then we're gonna cross, and I'll give you a view of the main pavilion and then the two towers. It is absolutely stunning. I've been now in Seville since Monday, so almost for a week, and I must say it's been a very pleasant surprise, at least for me. I had never been here before. I had studied it a lot in school because obviously, having been part of the Caliphate of Cordoba, you kind of get told everything about Andalusia and Seville particularly to death. And I actually know a lot of people of Seville. Yesterday, just walking around the street, I found 2 of my friends who are tour guides here, which was quite funny. But yeah, I had never actually been in Seville. I had been in Andalusia before, but not Seville itself. Did you say covered in tiles, Serene, in tiles? And you choose to live in Southampton. To be fair, I would not be able to cope with the heating here for a long period of time. It is today is nice. We actually had a lot of cloud cover when I came outside for the first time. Also, look at this beautiful pavement. When I came originally out of the house in the morning, which was about 10 o'clock, it was only 21 degrees. But throughout the day, particularly at the hour of most heat, which we've just passed, we got today to 28 degrees, guys. And they have a heat wave coming just the day I'm leaving. Seville would actually be getting back up to the high 30s, almost 40, which is actually rather unusual for them this time of the year. But it is hot. And because Seville is only an hour away from Cádiz, which is already the sea, it gets quite sticky. So it is, it's a hard type of weather to deal with unless you are sort of built for it, and I'm definitely not built for it. I deal much better in the cold. So this is the fountain. I'm not gonna get too close to the fountain because it tends to spray quite severely. It's great when you're absolutely sort of like dripping in sweat. I did it the other day. I just came here and I was like, oh no, what a shame, I got splashed. And then you're dry 5 minutes later. But there you go. Thanks so much for the tip, Patty. Anyone know what in Fahrenheit? I think 30 degrees Celsius is about high 70s to 80s in Fahrenheit. There you go. It's 82. Thank you, Jeannie. So it's, I know that it's not as hot as in some places in the States, but it is still pretty high. Oh, that's a very smart rule. There you go. Perfect weather. Oh, Melissa, you're definitely built for the heat more than I am. Right. Well, this is the one tower, and again, I'm just gonna give you this full view. I think we may actually be about to see some horse carriages coming our way. I just can hear the clock. There is someone actually doing some. I don't know what they are. Oh, they're bubbles. Oh, nice. And there you go. So as you can see, unfortunately, the shade, fortunately for me, unfortunately for you, the shade is starting to catch up with us. Oh, hold on, horse carriage. Right, I'm just gonna chase the horse carriage so you can get them. This is actually, there you go. It's actually very popular to see these horse carriages walking around Seville, taking tourists. I know some people who do like horse carriage tours, etc. And they are very nice. You see them all over the city center. They're a bit pricey, but very, very iconic. Oh, and there is another people doing some more flamenco dancing. So let me give you this last view of the tower. Then we will see our friends here, and then we will get into the park, because I think this view is definitely worthwhile. And in fact, I think I'm gonna do a vertical view, okay guys? So I'm just gonna count to 3. So then you can get the vertical shot. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Look at that. And then I'm just gonna bring it back down. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Thank you so much, Michael. You're very generous. Thank you. Right, and now let's have a look at these other guys. Thank you so much, Jeannie. These guys are actually doing sevillanas, which is not the same than flamenco. ¡Ole!
oso verde. Ya la del oso verde voy a sacar a bailar. Ya la del oso verde voy a
They've been here already for an hour and a half, believe it or not, because I think they were here when we came in originally. So they must have a lot of stamina to keep doing this in this heat.
Voy a sacarla a bailar, por si bailando mordido, por si bailando mordido, ya la que me gusta a mí no quiere bailar conmigo. ¡Ole!
¡Ole! Yes, I'm just gonna zoom in now.
Voy a sacar a bailar ya la más indiferente. Ya la más indiferente voy a sacar a bailar. Ya la más indiferente voy a sacar a bailar. Ya la más indiferente. Ya la más indiferente que me está haciendo pasar. Lo que no sabe la gente que me está haciendo pasar.
They are great.
Lo que no sabe la gente.
And it's not often that you see a male dancer out and about. It's normally the girls. So this is actually really cool. ¡Ole! There used to be. Oh, that's amazing! I mean, I've never known how to do flamenco. Out of all of the dances that I've learned in my time, flamenco has not been one of them. My auntie used to do it, so I knew a fair bit about it, but it's not something that I've done myself. But I know it's something that it requires quite a lot of skill. So now we are gonna walk into the park of Maria Luisa, but I'm just gonna give you one last view of Plaza España because we are not gonna come back this way. So here we go. Thank you, Plaza España. You've been very kind to us, but we're gonna move on to the shade. Thank you so much, Tina. Thank you. You're very kind. Okay, now, disclaimer. I am not very knowledgeable about plants, guys. I'm not one of those people like Stefan that know every single type of tulip and everything else in between. I'm not that kind of person. So I know a few of the trees that are around here and plants and whatnot. So apologies for that in advance. But I can tell you the history behind this park, or at least some of the history behind the park itself. This has been, I'm so glad you've enjoyed it, Patty. Hi, Hilary. Welcome to the Park of Maria Luisa in Seville. So, like I said right at the beginning of the tour, for those of you who may not have been here then, this is currently a public botanic park, although originally it was not intended to be so. This was actually the land owned by a woman who was called Maria Luisa Fernanda. Now, Maria Luisa Fernanda was actually a princess of Spain. She was an infanta of the Bourbon dynasty, and she married a count of Montpensier, which means they actually had more money than sense. Quite literally, in her case, they bought a palace that is actually not far away from this area, called the Palace of San Telmo. And in order to make their garden, they bought 34 hectares of land, which part of which you see here. This is not all of it. And eventually, after they got done with their enterprise, they actually donated the park to the city of Seville, which was very handy for them because the donation happened in 1914 and the building for Plaza España had only started 2 years before. Now, I'm sure you can see here some oranges, and Seville is particularly well known for orange trees, and this entire avenue is full of them. In fact, when I see them, I think they've been doing some cleaning, but the oranges get ripe. I don't know, I'm sure you can see it there. The oranges get so ripe, they actually start falling off the trees. So this gets full of the local birds, the local rodents, insects, etc. It's honestly full of them. As gross as that may be, the one great thing about it is that the smell in here is amazing. Like if I could actually teleport the smell to you guys of fresh oranges everywhere, I would, because honestly, it's great. Now, the park, originally when they donated it, had already some trees in here. They mostly had planted the local trees that are these ones that you see over here, as well as some of the fake banana trees that I'm not sure if we're gonna come nearby any of them, and some cypress trees. As you can see, there are some over there, just the small ones that kind of grow up into hedges. Those cypress trees had actually been brought over to Spain by the Muslims. And because in this part it's so hot, they are really good because, you know, they go up really tall and they provide nice shade. They don't need actually a lot of water to keep going. But I'm sure you can see a lot of trees in here that have nothing to do with the European continent, like palm trees, some other American plants, etc. Well, that is because as part of the ibero-american exhibition, on top of showcasing the Spanish goods, they of course built pavilions to showcase the goods of America. And as part of that, they also decided to plant trees that came from the other continent. So as this became really a very nice, admittedly, mishmash of different species, after the exhibition itself, they decided that they were going to open this as a botanic garden for the public to enjoy at their own leisure. So anyone can come here. You can use it for all sorts of things. I'm sure you've seen, you know, people doing exercise. There's lots of people that come biking in here. And what I really love about this place is the variety, because, you know, I can see a pine tree in the same way, or an oak in the same way that suddenly a palm tree appears in the horizon. I can see a rose garden, and then suddenly there's some azaleas. And there is one particular tree which I absolutely adore, which is called the jacaranda, which is purple. And there is a particular space. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get there in the time we have left. I'm trying to get there, but when the flower from that tree falls to the ground, it sort of covers it in purples and blues, and it's absolutely stunning. But this is what the park has now become, for anybody to use for anything. So it's open 24/7. It doesn't close at any point. As you can see, that's more oranges from this orange tree, which actually doesn't have any in there right now. Hi Helen, welcome to Seville. And it's, as you can see, is very lively. Now, having such a huge park like this in the center of a city like Seville, which originally wouldn't have had a lot of vegetation, this gives the entire city life. It is literally considered the green lung of Seville, because after this park was made at the beginning of the 20th century, then a bunch of other little parks have sort of spin off from here. So this one is wedged between the far end of the Alcázar, which is the royal palace here in Seville. Then it has some other little gardens in honor of Maria Cristina, another Infanta, another princess on the other end. Then it has a huge road that connects the city center of Seville with the outskirts, and so on and so forth. So by starting this lovely initiative, they created a great green area here in Seville. Because honestly, if this type of thing wasn't here, it would be really hard for the locals to find shade, to stay cool. Like I said, with those temperatures, as much as you may be able to withstand it, you eventually need to grab the shade. Hi, Jose. This is one of the other decorations that they included as part of the park for the Ibero-American exhibition. This is Glorieta de los Hermanos Álvarez Quintero. In English, this is the roundabout, although it doesn't have the shape of a roundabout. It's considered to be a pedestrian roundabout of the brothers Álvarez Quintero. And these guys actually were part of the influential people here on the committee for the Ibero-American exhibition. And I think I may just get away with getting you to America Square, which is actually not far from here. But for that, I need to pick up the pace. So let's see if I can do it, guys. I think I may be able to just about get away with it. I just walked on an orange. Never mind. Honestly, there are so many here. You'll be surprised. We're gonna see some pretty plants in the way. Right. Yes. I can see one of the gardens here. Whew. Honestly, walking at this pace with this temperature in the middle of the day maybe wasn't the smartest idea, but oh well. Mistakes were done. We will learn from them. Actually, it's not too bad because the breeze has just picked up. But this is, like I said, one of the most... do you see here this beautiful purple flower of the jacaranda tree that I was just referring to? Well, in Plaza America, it is the same, just in the surrounding areas with the beautiful neo-mudéjar buildings, which means they are inspired, again, by old Arabic architecture. In fact, I can see one here already, which means I'm actually just around the corner. I think we're gonna make it, guys. We're gonna make it. Oh my God, oh my God. Right, these buildings that we're gonna see here were actually pavilions for the American institutions that were coming to represent different countries. So there was the building for the equatorial region, the building for Venezuela, and so on and so forth. The vast majority of them have now been turned into museums or into cultural associations to either represent things for the city of Seville or still to keep up that legacy from the ibero-american connections. Hello, Andrea. Right. So as you can see, this one is inspired as a Muslim palace, and this one is one of the museums. It's dedicated to sort of folk traditions here in the south of Spain. Not necessarily flamenco, but just, what the ordinary people would do in the days of old. And right here around the corner is gonna be Plaza America, and that's where we will say goodbye. As you can see, the buildings are particularly big because, they were supposed to be expo pavilions. It was quite handy that then the city had a lot of money coming in from the government before the Civil War, and they could keep them, although they were closed for a really long time. Hi, Gary. You see that beautiful purple tree? There you go. I think I'm getting close now. But yeah, so one of them, like I said, is the one dedicated to Andalusian folk. Another one is the Archaeological Museum of Seville. Another one keeps contemporary designs, art, etc. And this is America Square, and this is the beautiful jacaranda that is leaving us those lovely purple shades here on the square. Now, I don't want to suggest that it was done on purpose, although I can tell you that it was done on purpose. But this is called Plaza America, okay? America Square. We've just come from Plaza España, Spain Square. Now, I'm not saying this is not pretty. It is. It's lovely. But if you compare it to what we've just seen, I think you can all appreciate where the emphasis was in the Iberian-American Expo of 29. Because although Spain was very much trying to repair the relationships with the American continent, there was still a lot of resent to the way that, it all had been left, which wasn't actually very well. The war was actually very damaging from Spain, and it had barely been 20 years since the war ended until this started. So, of course, very beautiful, very nice, great tradition, all in good faith, but let's remember that the hosting country is Spain, and therefore Spain gets the more decorated plaza. And I'm just gonna go here to the entrance of the Pabellón Mudéjar, which is one of the museums of local art, which has a lovely front view, and that's where I'm gonna, unfortunately, have to say goodbye today, guys. But don't worry, I'm leaving you with a pretty building, so I hope you will forgive me, because look at this. This is stunning. If you've been not just to Seville, but anywhere in like Morocco, the south of Spain, etc., you would recognize, obviously this is modern once again, but it is all Arabic and Persian influence from the Muslim legacy of Spain. And this is, like I said, Pabellón Mudéjar. Mudéjar is the name of the art style that we're giving here to the Muslims that stay in Spain, converted as Christians afterwards. And that's gonna be goodbye, guys. Oh, thank you so much for the comments. Yes, I am actually flying back on Saturday, so I still have a couple of days. But okay, I'm just gonna turn the camera now. So there you go. That is all for today. I'm afraid, I'm so sorry. And unfortunately, this is the only tour I'm doing in Seville, just because I had to coordinate a few other things and it just wasn't possible for me to add more stuff to the schedule. But I hope you've enjoyed it. It's an absolutely beautiful city and wonderful. So if you ever want to come here, I'm very happy to give you any tips, because there is so much to see. Like, it's not just the stuff that you can just see walking around, museums, Renaissance palaces, the cathedral. I was just there this morning. Insane. I'll put some pictures on Heygo so you guys can see them. Absolutely wonderful. So I really hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for your lovely comments. You're all so nice. Thank you so much for the tips as well. And I am gonna be doing now every single tour for the next month is gonna be in Spain, in Santander, and I'm also gonna be doing some talks from home about Spanish history and just some general Spanish habits, which I think perhaps will be interesting for you all to know. Sam, could you ever do tours about Spanish TV shows? Oh, that's very interesting. That's a good, I actually had something like that thought about some, but I wasn't decided. So if you guys are definitely into that, then I will definitely jump on that boat. And I may be doing some cooking if my mom lets me use her kitchen. So yes, definitely keep an eye out because Spain has a lot of beautiful things ready for you guys. Oh, saludos desde Argentina. ¡Mua! Gracias. And take care, guys. I'm just gonna go find my mom, who is somewhere in the park. And you have a lovely evening. Bye bye. Take care and see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.